Welcome to Points After Thursday, and it's a special edition Points After Thursday. It is Thanksgiving, so we're all full. We've had 3 games of football, and now we're ready to talk about the action that just happened. We just had you know, a not so entertaining game. There was a couple big plays here and there, but I would have loved to have seen a closer game than what we saw tonight in the Packers and Dolphins. I thought it would have been a bit closer, but the cold weather seemed to, distract Tua in the first half, especially. He came on in the second half, but it was just a little too late. Chev, what's your first thoughts on the game tonight? And, give our viewers what your take was.
Stop putting the Dolphins on prime time. That's my first take. Just stop putting the Dolphins in island games. They suck. Like, they're not a good football team. They have great pieces, but they're not a good football team. I was struggling. So the 2 teams I want to say with like winning records or that made the playoffs that they beat under Mike McDaniel ever are the Cowboys last year and the Bills, I want to say last year when they had to play like 90 plays. And since then, it was 2022 when they did that. Yeah, it was. So since then, they don't beat anybody that's good or just competent. A competent playoff football team. The Cowboys do not count. So you have the Bills as the one team that you beat that's a competent football team under Mike McDaniel. Like, it's a really cool idea, but they're not good. They're just not good.
Yeah, it's a tough division to play in for one, and when you have to play the Buffalo Bills twice a year, it's not make it easier. And Tua, his concussion issues, there's a lot of situational stuff that is going on around there. And yes, let's get them out of prime time because they don't like to play well during prime time on most nights. So yeah, I'm with you there, Chev. Schultzy, what's your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, I'm not super surprised.
Nobody is. That's the thing.
Right.
Like, if you know ball at all, you're like, they're gonna get their ass kicked. So
we were on the pregame show over there and kind of said, hey, Tua's probably gonna do okay. And he did. We said he's probably not gonna blow up. Hill's probably gonna get a couple of chunk gains, and he did, and Achan's gonna get usage. Yeah, man, it was about what we thought. They are who we thought they were.
All right, so we already got a question up in the chat, and we'll kind of go back and forth as the night progresses here, folks. But George Play, what's up, George? What's up, guys? Unbelievable, no kidding, that Jahmyr Gibbs got 9 carries and had 10 yards per carry. Hope after his rookie contract he seeks a trade. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see in that offense what would happen there without a Jahmyr Gibbs. But yeah, like his rookie contract, still a couple of years away from that happening. And, even with David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs has solidified himself as a top tier running back, no matter who's in the lineup there. So someone offered him CMC and Reed for Gibbs and Hopkins. He's 9-3. He's got Barkley and Buckley and Bucky. So what are your thoughts on that one, Schultzy, when you see that? Everybody's looking at CMC dangling the carrot. I don't know.
Give me Gibbs.
Yeah, I like Gibbs here. The Lions are in a much better offense moving forward. As far as I'm concerned, Brock Purdy's been banged up, and Deebo Samuel hasn't looked the same. Christian McCaffrey has not looked the same. His injury potentially has something to do with it. His offensive line might have something to do with it. Jaden Reed looked great tonight, but he's a hit and miss kind of player. Same with Hopkins, but I think Jahmyr Gibbs is the prime target here, and he's the healthier one out of him and Montgomery. So give me Jahmyr Gibbs in this situation. Great upside there and running back room you have there, George. So yeah, keep it as it is, or take Gibbs. You're in great shape with Barkley and Buckley. Barkley and Buckley.
Too overboard with Gibbs asking for a trade, though. That seems a little wild.
It is a little wild, absolutely. Well, let's talk about that game then, Schultzy. The Bears and Lions. That game was a head scratcher for some of us. Clock management. all that kind of stuff at the end of the game. Some mistakes. I was hoping for um, I was hoping for some overtime in that one. I'm not gonna lie. Wanted some more Jared Goff opportunity here, but after seeing what we saw, Caleb Williams in that second half looked electrifying. Chev, I got your take on the pulse. Schultzy, what's your take on the Caleb Williams situation? Are you buying into the dip moving forward? Is he a guy that you're going to just start for the rest of the year, seeing how the Bears look this week?
No, I love Caleb Williams, man. It's all coming together, right? So yeah, I'd buy him in Dynasty, buy him in redraft. Like, what's there not to like? He had a terrible, it was in a terrible spot today. You travel on the road. I know it's Detroit to Chicago is not far, but on the short week against the freaking Lions, man, at home on Thanksgiving, and then to be in the spot they were in. And then to turn it around, and I mean, let's be real, the Bears aren't in that game without him.
Oh no, no kidding. I mean, the first half to the second half, whatever adjustments they made at halftime, obviously paid dividends for them. It's unfortunate that they couldn't figure it out in the latter half of that game, like in the closing minutes there, just to
that was so bad.
Spike the ball, call a timeout. There's so many options there that you could have done, and
I was watching it, at first I was very confused, obviously, what the hell's happening? And then it kind of hit me. I'm like, surely the clock is messed up, right? Surely CBS is screwing this up.
Mm-hmm.
They just accidentally let the clock run or something. I was like, there's no way this is no. And it was.
It was funny. I saw Jack's post on Twitter. He's like, even my 12-year-old would have called a timeout in Madden had that happened. So it's just an interesting, unfortunate, just kind of like the Bears as a franchise in general. I mean, just sums it up. But gotta love the optimism here around Caleb Williams, and his line's playing a bit better for him. And they played a couple tough matchups here, so hopefully things get a little bit better for them moving forward. But you know what? Let's talk about this running game for the Detroit Lions. It's been talked about. We got Knuckles and Sonic. It's the two-headed monster. They're formidable. They're a lot of people had Jared Goff pegged as a top 12 quarterback headed into this season. Are you surprised by this, Chev, that David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs have been leaned on so much this season?
No, because Dan Campbell has no cares about our fantasy football desires. This is what they told you what they wanted to do. They extended Monty. They took Jahmyr Gibbs 12th overall or whatever. 12th was it? It was 12th.
12th, so yeah.
They told you that they wanted to be a run-heavy attack, and Jared Goff's going to operate under Jared Goff operates best out of play action, and when he can get the linebackers and throw the ball in the middle of the field with clear shots because there's no linebackers there because they're all playing the run. So this is going to be the way that their offense functions, and as long as those two backs are healthy, they're going to run through them. Now they start fooling around in this game and start throwing the ball way too much, and you see that it throws the rhythm of the offense off. So, granted, it was enough. They did enough to hang on and win the game, but Caleb, once they were out of rhythm, it was clear that they were, out of sync, and that's how the Bears got back into the game. So the run game is their bread and butter. They invested heavily in the O-line. They paid both of the running backs, first-round draft capital, and they just extended Monty. They've got the best O-line in the league. This is how their offense is going. If they're going to the Super Bowl, it's going to be because both of those guys are phenomenal.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's what it is. It's the run game. It's the power, and then the skill on the smaller back in Gibbs. It's a beautiful thing to see, and yeah, I love it. I'm not sure Gibbs is I'm sure if he gets a full workload, in another offense, that he could be the number one overall, running back. But how long is that, going to last at his size? He's not super under small back like an Achan, but I don't think he's built to take on a full workload. And I think just him and David Montgomery are a great complement to each other. Imagine being a dynasty owner, tanking in 2018, and then you pull, David Montgomery and Josh Jacobs out of your ass, and then now are reaping the benefits. They're very similar backs, and they're just chugging along in these offenses in another elite level. And, got to give it to both those guys, finding new homes in offenses and just, being very, very, productive and scoring a lot of touchdowns. I love what I saw in Josh Jacobs' last stretch. Chev, you mentioned, running back 2 over a little bit of stretch. Tell us a little bit about that.
So Josh Jacobs, since week 7, Josh Jacobs is the RB2 in points per game, around 22.1. I'm pretty sure tonight in full PPR, he went around 21.8. So that's not going to hurt the average at all. I mean, he's a phenomenal back. You've seen him lead the league in rushing and, go over 400. So he's the definition of a workhorse back, and he's getting more usage in the passing game now for Green Bay. That offense obviously wants to run through Josh Jacobs and then dip it to the ancillary pieces. Jordan Love, you want to take the opportunities for Jordan Love to turn the ball over to the other team. You want to minimize those. He's an excellent quarterback, but there's a meme where they were talking about like he's the perfect blend of Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. And the Brett Favre side has shown itself quite a bit this year. So you want to minimize those opportunities for him to put the game in harm's way. So lean on Josh Jacobs because he is incredible.
Exactly. I love that. That call. And, this Packers offense is starting to come around. Tonight was a really good opportunity for them to show what they had against a tougher Miami defense that some people had them pegged as a tough against the pass. And Jordan Love looked good, and Josh Jacobs looked really good tonight. And he had a couple. He had that big reception at the latter half of the game after they tired him down. So I love that call there, Chev. Schultzy. Let's move on to the Giants and the Cowboys. And, what was your biggest take out of that game? And what do you think, moving forward?
I don't know. The game was a big nothing burger, really, for fantasy. I mean, Rico Dowdle was pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of Rico Dowdle, I mean, he had a couple big explosive runs earlier in the game. The Cowboys, looked a lot different without, Dak Prescott in the lineup. We talked about CeeDee Lamb in depth on one of our other shows here, but, he doesn't look the same. We had him pegged now between, wide receiver 18 to 24 rest of season, matchup dependent now, to especially down the stretch here. The Cowboys are in a state of flux, interesting moving forward. Both these teams are in very similar stages. Malik Neighbors quietly coming on here, getting the target share. What's your thoughts on him rest of season, Schultzy?
I feel better with Drew Lock playing. He's like a real NFL quarterback at least. But it's comforting and noticeable that they're working to get him involved more as a staff.
Like I saw a couple design plays off the line today where they were trying to get him involved there because he does have, a great yards after the catch, try and get him in, the ball, just similar to how they did last year with the Chiefs with Rashee Rice. They saw what he could do. They gave him the opportunity, and maybe we'll see a little bit more of that. But, the Giants don't have much, going on around them, and they're going to be out of games quite a bit here. So, I just wanted your take on that. Anything to add to that, Chev?
Let's get Shedeur Sanders to the New York Giants, and let's activate all these weapons. I love what I saw from Theo Johnson today. Obviously, we talked about Tyrone Tracy on the pulse. Malik Neighbors is Malik Neighbors. He's he's going to be one of the best receivers in fantasy for a very long time. But it does require replacement level quarterback play. Would we agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, and if he gets above replacement level quarterback play and a guy like Shador that can throw with anticipation from the pocket, he becomes an instant top 5 dynasty wide receiver. So I think that these are seeing what you're seeing from the Giants. If there's one takeaway, it's like they do have decent pieces. Theo Johnson, Tyrone Tracy, Malik Neighbors. You can build around that, and they'll get their franchise $100 million left tackle back next season, so the quarterback won't be under constant siege.
Yeah, and that all makes sense. I mean, we tend to just have that instant gratification nowadays. So when it takes some growing pains for these rookies to come in, we saw his potential earlier in the season. And, when teams honed in on that, realizing that he's kind of the only option in that offense and everything's going to be funneled through him. It takes a while for them to get him involved in the game too. Last week, he had 1 target in the first half, I think it was. This week they made a point to get him involved early and often, even though it wasn't fruitful. I think some chemistry now with Drew Lock, knowing he might be the starter for the rest of the year. I don't know now. I think he proved that he looked a lot better than DeVito did. But if the Giants are in a state where they're kind of tanking, DeVito might be the guy that's starting next week if he's able to play.
Oh my God. Are you serious? Like they're really considering doing that?
Well, I mean, they went straight to him from the get-go.
I know, but like that was a clear mistake. Right?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I think it was an embrace the tank move.
Yeah. I mean, they see these guys in practice every day. They can't tell that Drew Lock is clearly better than him. I mean, I think it just might be, them indirectly saying that, we want to move up, or like they need that quarterback. So if they're not tanking, I don't. Yeah, I see DeVito next. I'm not,
Oh gosh. If they, oh my gosh, that's so bad. That's so bad. But I mean, they're at this point, they're a complete poverty franchise. Like it doesn't.
I mean, it's not out of the realm of things to think about where they may have, this is Thanksgiving. It's a divisional opponent. They want to maybe give their team the best opportunity to win in prime time. So, let's start Drew Lock and maybe make an excuse for DeVito not to play, and now we're back in the tank mode. Like it's. I don't know. There's
yeah. I mean, trying to cope our way through Giants decision making is not a fun place to be.
Yeah. We know that franchise and their decision making is like there's a lot of turmoil within that franchise from what I'm hearing from behind the scenes, and this from the DeVito call to the Daniel Jones benching, all this stuff is there's a lot of layers there, and we know who has layers. Ogres, they have layers.
Love it, and they're a lot like onions. Ogres
Yes.
are.
Yes.
Malik Neighbors is great, and they obviously nailed that draft pick here this year. But the fact that the whole Daniel Jones flaming out thing and everything, I mean, we all saw it coming, right? But it makes the offseason video of their GM's kid telling him to draft Jaden Daniels even funnier.
That is wild.
Yeah.
Just all of the folly associated with the New York Giants right now. Like my wife watched the offseason Hard Knocks thing. She knows how much I love Saquon. She was like, "They're gonna let him go," but I thought the quarterback was terrible. And it's like, but wouldn't he help the quarterback if he's bad, and then they just can give him the ball? And I was like, "Yes, honey, this is what everybody else who knows anything about football thinks about this." But this guy clearly has no interest in doing something that would actually help him keep his job. So here we are.
This is us. This is where we're at. Like I it baffles me, when the obvious question, the obvious answer is there for some of us, but maybe there's more that meets the eye behind the scenes when money's involved and all these other politics. So it's an interesting game that we play.
Well, you would think that when the owner says, hey, it's going to be really hard for me, the owner, the guy who owns the team and signs your checks, to watch Saquon play somewhere else, you would think that that's a context clue, would you not?
Yes. And can you imagine, like this Saquon Barkley situation is just adding more salt to the wound, just seeing how like exceptional he is. Like he is the number one fantasy. Like, I mean, you have to have him above because of positional scarcity than Jamar Chase at this stage.
There's
Because
no player I would rather have on my team for the rest of the season than Saquon Barkley. Full stop.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if we see that maybe the negotiation contract was just a little bit too much stressful through that franchise tag.
That's your job. You get
That's
paid
your job.
millions of dollars to deal with stress. So the billionaire guy doesn't have to. Like, what are we doing?
Wild.
It's fucking wild. Sorry. It's crazy wild.
Like how
Super
I
wild.
apologize for
how
that.
do you get to the how do you say, oh well, we really don't want to negotiate with you like that because it's going to be really difficult. So just go see what you can get from other people and then maybe come back and talk to us. But you'll
Well,
come
maybe
back and talk to us, right?
Maybe let's rewind the year before where we extend our quarterback without having to, knowing he's
You
garbage.
could have let him walk.
They could have let him walk. I know. That's the
Like you could have let him walk and then drafted one of these guys. You could have
and still had Saquon Barkley.
And you know the funniest thing is they signed enough free agents in the offseason. They're not even going to get a comp pick for him.
That's this. Yeah, he's
that's just terrible management right there.
He's going to get super fired.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Well, let's talk about other like dumpster fire franchise. Let's talk about the Jaguars here. They're Schultzy.
I mean, listen.
That's a quality lead-in.
I've been a hardcore fan since like I don't know 2004 when I was in like middle schools when I like really picked it up.
Well, I just got a question here about your Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence coming off like I wasn't expecting him to play for the rest of the season here. Now, what is the thought process behind this? He's obviously a competitor. He wants to play. From what I heard, him and Doug Peterson do not get along whatsoever. Why wouldn't Trevor just try and get him out of there and start fresh?
When this first went down, I thought he was gonna just get the surgery and just be like, all right, see you guys. I don't know, man. I honestly don't know. Doug has thrown him under the bus in press conferences after games multiple times this year. I don't know. I literally have nothing.
Okay. That's the situation we're dealing with right now, because I'm worried about his long-term longevity, right? If they're going to throw him out there, he's got a shoulder that's banged up already. It's not his throwing shoulder, which obviously isn't a concern, but I mean, do you have faith in these Jaguars moving forward? Like, what's Doug's goal now moving forward? Like, just to save his job, but obviously, why is he still there?
Dude, I don't know. It's wild. Like it's beyond saving. First of all, Him and Press Taylor, offensive coordinators, both their houses are on the market.
Wait, for real?
I was on Twitter with listings of them, and it's like not, you can't nobody. I was not like I'm searching up their addresses, but you know how people are on the internet. I mean, I bought it, and it wouldn't shock me. So, but who knows, really? But I don't know. Yeah, there's nothing to play for. It's not even a coaching staff and front office who's going to be here to try and tank for a number 1 pick. I don't know.
I just don't know why you put him in jeopardy if he's banged up like that. If he's not playing already, unless you're trying to showcase him for the next coach. And maybe they haven't made that move because they're waiting to see what the talent pool's in the off season. They know the season's done, and they have a better chance of getting a higher draft pick with Doug Peterson at the helm. I don't know.
I think that it's just that Trevor Lawrence is the captain of that team, the offensive captain of that team.
That's fair.
And you have to, regardless of what happens with the coaching staff, he's one of the flagship players that the franchise is going to be built around for at least the duration of this current contract that he has. So
that was just signed.
Yeah, just signed. So the extension rolls through probably 2020, 2027, maybe 2028. And he'll be 29 years old at that point, and he'll probably be playing well enough for them to he'll probably be on the Dak arc for quite some time. They just get re-signed, do all that, maybe throw one of the, an elite season at you here pretty soon. But also, what is that? I don't think that it has anything to do with the plan as far as him being out there and the thought process being, hey, we need to shelf you or we need to do something of that sort. I think he just wants to be out there because he's one of the guys.
I'm saying that's who he is, as a player, yeah.
I mean, he's never, I think through high school and college, he never missed a start. So, and that streak was broken last year at some point. And so he's one of those guys that just is going to be out there if he can play.
Love it. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, and hopefully, it helps out. A guy like Brian Thomas Jr., who's had such a hot start to the season, and it kind of fizzled out due to his injury. And after the bye, he looks probably pretty fresh here. So I'm hoping to see that come back.
So
isn't he?
Good. Give me all the Brian Thomas. It's the only thing to watch as a Jags fan the rest of the way.
You got excited about Parker Washington? Penn State legend Parker Washington?
I do enjoy some Parker Washington, but he doesn't get me going like Brian Thomas.
That's hilarious. All right, guys.
That's a fair point.
Let's before we end the show here, let's get into maybe give everybody a good start or a sit, whichever one you want to peg out this week. Schultzy, let's start with you. Give us a start or a sit that should be in or out of your lineup.
Well, I'm just going to keep rolling with Kyler Murray. I've been talking about him all night as a start. And I just love the fact that he's playing the Vikings, who have been getting killed on the back end of the defense. It's at Minnesota in a dome. When Kyler gets cooking, when he's passing, it only opens him up to run more.
Love it. Love it. Now, Chev, you got a start or a sit for us?
Oh, I absolutely do. And it's right on brand. It's George Pickens.
Let's go.
Yep, we got Bengals week for George Pickens, and that usually means really good things. Hopefully a blizzard doesn't come down. We got robbed of a generational game last week against the Browns. He usually kills the in-division opponents worse than everybody else. Give me George Pickens this week.
I like that call quite a bit, actually. He's been playing lights out, and the matchup is there. Let's pull one up for me. Let's go with Devonta Smith. And wait, he's out. He's injured. He's not playing this week.
He was limited today in practice.
Yeah. But in general, even against this Ravens defense, I'm going to be sitting him. We talked about Saquon Barkley. We talked about AJ Brown in one of our other shows. This offense is revolving around those two, if not Jalen Hurts in the red zone. So I I'm very pessimistic about Devonta Smith rest this season, and we're going to have to see what the offseason brings for me to get back on his train. He's going to have to come up with a big game or two or an injury for him to get back on the wagon here. So I'm definitely going to be sitting him. Andre's in the chat here. He says, "What's up, guys? How is Mark Andrews' matchup this week?" So he's playing, well, this matchup against the Philadelphia Eagles. Well, the Eagles have got a pretty stout defense. In general, wide receivers haven't done well against them lately, especially as far as the tight end matchup goes. Let me pull this up. Do you guys have that in front of you guys at all? Anybody
I
have
don't
any?
know that, but I know that this is the highest game total on the slate.
I'm pulling it up right now. Mark Andrews versus the Eagles. So over the last 5 weeks, the Eagles have given up. Over the last 5 weeks, they've given up 28 receptions for 250 yards and a touchdown, roughly 6 points a game to the tight end position. Let's see here. The last tight end that they faced, there were 3 targets for the tight end position against the Rams last week. They gave up 1 catch for 10 yards. The most they've given up here recently is 6 for 47 to Zach Ertz. 6 for 47 and a touchdown. But, I mean, most of that came in garbage time. Yeah. And then they gave up 5 for 45 to Evan Ingram.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of, the only saving grace from here is that line that Schultzy mentioned here. So the matchup isn't great, but there could be a potential there. And if both teams end up scoring, defenses just tend to be tired at the end of the game, and the points just end up piling up, and that could end up being a Mark Andrews touchdown. But as far as matchup goes, and where he's at right now, rankings wise, he's outside of my top 10 right now. There's a bunch of other guys that I'd prefer over Mark Andrews. Taysom Hill, Evan Ingram, Kate Otten, even against Carolina, David Njoku versus Denver. I love Hunter Henry this week against Indianapolis. Will Disley has got a good matchup. I'm even probably going to start TJ Hawkinson this week against Arizona over Mark Andrews. So there's some guys I'd be playing over him, but I mean, he could hit. He's coming on lately and definitely been there.
I think the caveat for me with Mark Andrews is if you think Lamar is going to throw the ball about 30 or more times, I feel good about starting Mark Andrews. But it's still more along the lines of like, there's no scenario where I would play him over Jonnu Smith at this point.
Yeah, and both these, we got to think about, we're thinking about this game as being high scoring, wide receiver heavy. But, when we look at the 2 running backs in this game, you got Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley, 2 of the top premier running backs in the league in high flying offenses that were, brought in free agency. So I could see this being a very run heavy game too. All right. So we got a question here. This might be a little off script, but I have Jaden Daniels. He's got week 14 bye. Darnold and Herbert are on my waivers. Darnold plays Atlanta and Herbert plays KC. I'm leaning Sam for the matchup. So this is in week 14. Okay, so we've got Darnold versus Atlanta, which, in a dome, could be a game where Kirk Cousins may want to prove a point against his former team. So there could be a lot of points on the board here. Herbert's been playing really good football, and the Chiefs are going to probably need to win this game to keep, a lock on that first seed. This could be a game where both teams need to win. This is a tough one, man. Anybody want to give me their opinion first?
My heart says Herbert. That's my initial lean, just because he's going to give you. I mean, he's been giving you about 30 to 35 yards on the ground, in addition to what he's giving you through the air. And if J.K. Dobbins is out of that matchup, that just means that they're going to be even more. They're going to be more pass heavy than they were in the second half of the Baltimore game last week. I think that they're going to start to open it up a little bit more, and there's no more capable guy of airing it out than Justin Herbert. So, yeah, I'd love to have Herbert in a gotta have it matchup where Mahomes is probably going to have to outduel him to determine the winner there, because they're both going to be in must win territory. They're only a game. The Chiefs are only a game up on the Bills, correct?
Yes.
And they have the tiebreaker.
No, they don't. No, so because the Bills
have
won
to win that game.
Yeah. They're pretty much needing to win out if unless Buffalo stumbles.
Right. And I mean, they're gonna beat the crap out of the 49ers tomorrow, probably, or Sunday. So yeah, that game probably going to end up being a must win for both teams for seeding purposes. So yeah, give me Herbert. The matchup's better slightly for Sam Darnold, but Herbert's approaching, that back end Konami code type status with the way that he's passing the ball and the way that he's running the ball.
Yeah, I agree. And I think this is with J.K. Dobbins' injury you pointed out there. I think they're going to be needing to throw the ball a little bit more. So look for that. And you know what? Without their premier running back, Herbert's got that upside with his legs, like you also mentioned. You said he's got about 30 yards in rushing. That I could see that going up a little bit too. If need be, especially against the Chiefs. I think he's going to be scrambling a little bit here, so I do like that as well. So let's go with Herbert. Do you agree with that, there, Schultzy?
I do. Yeah, you kind of hit on it. I think that's just going to be an awesome game. That Chargers Chiefs game. I don't know. It's kind of a gut call on Herbert too. I think that's going to be a game you want to have pieces of, and especially with the injuries, like you mentioned, Herbert's going to be a nice play.
Yeah, both those teams are going to really want to win that game because the Chiefs still have Denver to play. They have Houston as well. Both those games are going to be tough matchups as well for them, and they haven't been playing great either. So I'm looking for this one to be a really, really good one. So let's keep them coming. I think we got a couple more questions up here there. If not,
one more.
All right. Do you guys trust Andrews as a tight end one? Really trying to win this league. If not, I can go and get an upgrade and package Andrews with DJ Moore. Now, DJ Moore here is somebody I'd be like treading carefully with. We talked a little bit about Caleb Williams earlier in the show, but also, DJ Moore's involvement in the last 3 weeks since Shane Waldron's firing. You got to really keep your eye out for that. He's been highly targeted. They're designing plays for him, and they want to keep him involved. So he's a piece I'd be very skeptical about moving unless you have a right guy coming in back to you. Andrews is potentially a tight end one rest of season. But in a position where there's a lot of, guys you could stream week in and week out, or find a guy as a gem. Andrews is a guy you have there that you can keep playing. And then if you see a streaming matchup on the waiver wire, because you got to think that a lot of guys now or girls are going to be out of their playoff race. So the pool for the waiver wire is going to be a lot more slim as well. So you'll be able to have more opportunity to get guys there as well. What are your thoughts on that?
I tend to agree.
Yeah,
it's a tough one because I think Andrews is going to keep having a little bit of a climb, though, as he's just getting healthier and healthier. Getting in a car accident right before the season starts is not exactly an ideal scenario.
Yeah. The route participation is the biggest concern. I think he's at like 59% route participation for the year, and he had never been below 70 since his rookie year. So if you think that, like I said, if you think that Lamar is going to have to throw the ball, If you think that they're going to throw the ball 30 times, I'm fine starting Andrews. If it's one of the games where he's probably going to end up, say, 3 targets or 4 targets, he's Tucker Craft at that point. So, unless you can use Andrews, and I don't know that I would want to trade DJ Moore. DJ Moore's got 21 receptions in his last 3 games, and he had 15 targets today. I don't know that I want to trade DJ Moore anymore. So unless you can go get a McBride or a Bowers, I don't think that you should trade Mark Andrews and DJ Moore. Even then, I don't know that I would want to give DJ Moore and Mark Andrews to get Brock Bowers or Trey McBride.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
It's not going to make that much of a difference in your lineup, is what I'm trying to say.
Exactly. Yeah. No. You're probably going to be able to get that production elsewhere as well. So let's keep that up. All right, folks. We're about 45 minutes in. The chat's calmed down a little bit here. People are stuffed from the turkey dinner.
Cam, committed to the game.
Oh yeah, and shout out to Corey, one of our fearless leaders on the network. Happy Thanksgiving, even to the Canadians of the group. Yeah,
got him,
Corey. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you and your family had a great Thanksgiving. You guys are all full of turkey and whatever you all had to eat. It was a great show on the Fantasy Sports Advice Network. We had a great PAT. This day was full of decent games. For a Thursday, it's nice to have some football during the day too. So hope you all had a
in March. You're going to be begging for stuff like this.
Exactly. Special guest Chev coming on 3 weeks in a row. Appreciate you for coming on, hanging out with us. You're always invited back. Tell everybody where they can find you and all your stuff moving forward.
I'm on the platform formerly known as Twitter at Chev90. You can follow the podcast 2 Guys 1 Pod FF on Blue Sky and on the platform formerly known, or on all social media platforms. I also co-host the Player Profiler News Today on Fridays with bigz, and I'm on the Dynasty Pulse with these guys on Thursdays at 6 p.m. Also, Titans Uncovered, for those of you sickos who want to hear about how sick I am of the Titans, we go on either Thursday. Well, I'll go on either Thursday night or Friday and get that uploaded. So check that out. Also on the Undroppables Network.
Yeah. Shout out to Cam and Andre in our chat. You guys had some great questions tonight. Appreciate you tuning in. And hopefully we helped you win your lineup. Schultzy, tell everybody where you can find you and all your stuff, my man.
You go find me on Twitter at Schultzy, SCHU1TZY. That's Schultzy, except the L's a 1 for you. And a lot of the shows that Chev brought up with you guys, Fantasy Forecast, I'm in there too. Dynasty Pulse, that's check that one out, fun times. And also, I do Jaguars Uncovered. So and I have a co-host, so it's a group of us talking about how tired of the Jaguars we are, similar to Chev's show.
I thought it was formerly known as the Jags Uncovered. I thought it was Dumpfire Uncovered, but
it could be, yeah. I don't see why not at this point.
I'm sorry, Schultzy. I know that could hurt.
No. Listen, Jaguars fans, we are unbreakable.
You can't. What is dead may never die.
Exactly. Yeah. You're good.
Have you already done your show this week?
No, we didn't do it this week, sir. I'm the bye week, and my co-host was busy.
It's fair. I mean, we're playing each other next week. We might need to figure something out.
Oh, we can get on with that.
There you go. Yeah, we'll make something work out there. Okay, boys and girls. Thanks for tuning in to PAT on the Fantasy Sports Advice Network. We'll have to get Dan Mater's voice on here right away to send us off because we are here, and we appreciate everybody tuning in. Until next week, you know what to say, boys. We hope you win.
We hope you win.
Hope you win.
We are here. We are here. FantasySportsAdvice.com, offering the best fantasy sports social media platform. Why join endless Discord communities or the trolls of Reddit? Fantasy Sports Advice is a community designed to help you win with 24/7 support. Go to FantasySportsAdvice.com and become a pro member for unlimited access. Again, go to FantasySportsAdvice.com.